Board of Equalization meeting today, August 7th at 2 p.m. The first item is to approve the minutes of the May 29th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Okay, we have a motion.
And I can second that. Thank you.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Second item is approve or deny the classification changes, primary residential to secondary. Any questions on those?
Bert, do you have any comments on those? Okay, I'll make a motion.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Aye.
And a second. All in favor?
And I
please-
can second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. How about item 3, Bert? Any issues there?
No.
These
Item
ones?
3, no. These are
Seconded.
just standard
Gotcha.
changes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve item number 3.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. All right. New property tax exemption for Sundance Nature Alliance.
We request to have this continued until the September full Board of Equalization meeting. This is going to be a lengthier discussion, and there's no real time crunch on this since it was timely filed, and we just want to get the decision made before tax notices go out in October. So if this could be continued to September 26th, that would be fine.
Okay, I'm fine continuing to the 26th.
Okay. Is that a
I'll
motion?
make a motion, yeah.
And I'm fine to go with that as well. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
That is continued to 9/26. Item 5, approve or deny application for BOE for Farmland Assessment Act status for Lakeshore LLC.
No. This one, they withdrew because what they did was they changed the legal description. It went below 5 acres with a home. They didn't realize that intent. They've re-recorded a whole bunch more documents, and everything's good now. So they were withdrawing this appeal because this parcel doesn't exist anymore.
So deny, I guess? Is that
Strike? I mean,
strike, deny?
We
What-
recommend you just move to strike it.
okay, I'll move to strike item number 5.
And I can second that motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And the last item for BOE, approve or deny application for BOE Farmland Assessment Act for Perry, Robert Perry.
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead, give us, yeah. I think we've got also some information here, so.
Okay. Awesome. Good afternoon. I'm Katrina Cole from the Utah County Attorney's Office to speak on behalf of the Assessor's Office. Usually I give an overview of the law, and I'll just try to say that very briefly today. But as you're aware, we have a statutory constitutional duty to tax everyone at a uniform and equal rate, and Greenbelt is an exception to that. It gives preferential tax treatment, but only to people who meet certain requirements. So under Greenbelt, in order to qualify for preferential tax treatment, you have to have 5 or more contiguous acres, not including residential areas. It needs to be actively devoted to agricultural use and have a reasonable expectation of profit, and then meet some other qualifications that aren't at issue. So this property is in total 5.25 acres. However, it contains a residential area that is significantly more than the 0.25 acres. In fact, it's 1.67 acres, leaving only 3.58 acres in agricultural production. So the property just simply does not meet the qualifications for Greenbelt. The property owner has been informed that he can apply for urban farming, and he has not done so yet. The residential landscaping around the property that is included in that 1.67 acres has about 300 trees. However, these trees are not an orchard. What fruit trees there are minimal. There's less than probably about a dozen. And they're not planted in a way to utilize the space like an orchard would. And so that area doesn't qualify that area for Greenbelt with the production levels. Additionally, even if you weren't to include that residential area of the property, or that residential landscaping area of the property, the footprint of the house alone takes up 0.22 acres, which doesn't include the driveway or the sidewalk. So when you include the driveway and the sidewalks, that pushes it over 0.25 acres, and no matter how you slice it, it's under 5 acres. We don't dispute that the remaining acreage has cattle grazing on it. And if the taxpayer applied for urban farming, they would likely get it. However, again, they just don't meet that 5-acre requirement. There is a claim, the taxpayer did claim that they used the grass clippings from the residential landscaping to use as food for the cattle. However, the state has said that grass clippings are not considered agricultural production. We even reached out to them in preparation for this hearing, and they confirmed that that's the case. Are there any photos that we want to go through?
He's trying to get him up.
Okay. So we just have some photos to kind of show what I've been talking about, to give a little bit more. You want to go through them? Or?
You have photos in the book. but
Yes, thank you.
Also have an overhead, the original overhead, or the aerial photograph that took the property and shows the parts.
Okay.
I think that's on about page 3.
Diane Garcia with the Assessor's Office. So these included in the Assessor's documents
I'm
are,
Diane, can I interrupt you? Sorry. This is supposed to be a formal judicial-like proceeding. So any documents that Mr. Perry provided to the Board of Equalization should also be provided to the Assessor's Office.
Oh, perfect. And I know, I'm guessing Commissioner Sakovic doesn't have access to these either, so
the
that's
attorney's
also
office.
wanting to be fair there.
Yeah, I don't have that at my fingertips.
okay. So this is an aerial of it. So the portion in yellow is what is deemed as the residential use area. It is the house, the driveway, the sidewalks, the landscaping, lawn, and the tree area. The remaining portion has cattle on it and would qualify for urban farming. But for Greenbelt, there has to be 5 acres in agricultural production. The next one, Bert. This one is just showing it without that shaded area, just so you can see better, because sometimes the yellow obscures it. Next one. These next ones are on site that I walked with the landowner through that landscaping area. The grass is treated as if it's a lawn. It's sprayed with fertilizer and weed killer, and it is manicured as if it is a landscape lawn. And then there are trees planted throughout. Yeah, you can just keep going through them. There are trees planted throughout, and it is considered to be a portion of the residential use and not agricultural use.
And I know you get the grass clippings a lot. I mean, that seems to be something that, as I was reading through the packet,
Yeah, it has come up before.
people bring that up a lot. And so I appreciate hearing Katrina say that you contacted the state and it's not accepted. So
That's correct.
I guess I would just say, as we further conversation, even if the commissioners today, as acting as Board of Equalization individuals, sided with you, it would be appealed to the state and they would overturn it. So I don't want to waste a lot of your time. So come on up to the microphone, and if there's anything that's not in this packet that you could give us in a couple of minutes.
Well, okay. Start with Morrison Feeds and Feeding is kind of the Bible of our livestock nutrition. And in there on, I'll cut right to it. In Morrison Feeds and Feeding, it says bluegrass is not only one of the most palatable grasses, but it also excels in amount of total digestible nutrients per pound of dry matter. The fact that young bluegrass is one of the richest grasses in protein helps explain the fondness for it shown by stock. Before heading out or going to seed in the spring, bluegrass usually contains nearly 20% protein if dried on the hay basis. Also, when the grass is kept actively growing and properly fertilized and managed, pasture is not permitted to head out. Percentage of protein will be nearly as high later in the year. There's also another quote here from Morrison Feeds and Feeding about regularly cutting, but I'll cut back from that. I acknowledged in here that the problem I have is the agricultural or the landscape use. Well, let's see, I'm kind of disorganized. Anyway, I cut lawn every day. I have an acre and a half of lawn there probably, and I mow a little bit of lawn every day. I've got a walker lawnmower that'll collect the cuttings. I feed the cows every day. I probably get the equivalent of about feed for 2 cows off of my lawn. And I'd love for you to come out and take a look at it and see if I'm wrong. I had no intention of doing anything that'd get me off the green belt. You know, I've got the most productive 5 acres out there. I average 7 head of cows. Well, I've got 7 head this year. I average about 6 head a year that I feed there for about 210 days. I get about 600 pounds of gain per cow in 210 days. And like I say, it's the most productive 5 acres out there. You know, I do have trees. I've got nut trees. I've got fruit trees, but
So
and
I think
the whole place is landscaped. You know, if you come look at it, the whole place is landscaped. And there's, you know, a farmer does nothing but harvest sun. And if you have bare ground or cheatgrass, you're not going to get anything. My place is all productive. I've got 2 acre feet of water per acre of strawberry water and 2 acre feet of well water. And I take care of it. It's more productive than any other 5 acre piece that I know of in the county, and I know a lot of them because I drilled wells for most of them.
so. We have a couple of options, and if we, as a Board of Equalization, like I said earlier, were to accept this as reasonable greenbelt, I know that it will be appealed to the state
Yeah,
and have a
and
pretty
they
good idea based upon past history that it would be overturned. So that
Yeah,
would be
I
a
understand that. I've
big
been
waste
told-
of time. So if you were to go urban farming, which is set up for those between 1 acre and 5, what would stop you from being willing to apply for that?
What does that do?
It does the same. It literally is just for between 1 and 5 acres, and the difference is that you just have to show your production every year. So you would basically just
Well,
take
but
the
I'm
same
producing
tax.
on 5 acres. But if that's what I'll take your advice. I don't want to fight this out. They've already told me they're still working on appeals back to 2018. That's 6 years. I don't know whether I got 6 years left.
We hope you do.
Well, I hope I do too, but my doctor tells me 3.
I'm trying to just cut to the chase and save you the
Well, I
most
know.
effort.
And
I really think
I've talked to my lawyer. I've talked about appealing it, but I just don't want to go on fighting. I'll write you a check today if you deny me.
Well, if you apply for the urban farming, you don't have to write the check today because it will roll over into an abatement. And if you're continuing to be productive, which it looks like you are, then the only portion that you would pay any abatement on is just the difference between the 5 acres and what they determine is agricultural use.
Well,
It would be
yeah,
a
I'm
much
using-
smaller check. And the
Okay.
only difference is you just have to prove production every year. So every year you would just submit your tax documents and you're good.
Okay, where do I do that?
with the
Diane can-
assessors,
Yep.
Diane
So Diane
behind
can help you
is-
do that. And so what I'll do here, if we deny this and then, what's the easiest way to do that? Is it to,
To deny it, and then I'll get him an application, and then he goes before the board of commissioners for
for the abatement,
deferral.
for the deferral? Okay. Yeah, I think that's, you're easy, I mean, from what I can see, you would easily qualify, and that's gonna be the cheapest for you, and it's gonna be the least headache, and
Yeah.
you can just get back. to
Well,
doing-
I'm tired of headaches. I've been
Yeah,
preparing for this meeting for months.
that's,
Well,
can see that.
And
And
everything that you put in
I-
here, they'll use in your application. And so this work wasn't wasted because you'll take this work, show it for your application, and that's what they'll use to prove your production for your approval for the urban farming. And it just means that smaller acreage, we passed that so that smaller
Well,
acreages could still stay in.
Basically, I'm still farming 5
Exactly.
acres.
I think that'll be the hardest thing, is just to make sure that, like, mentally, that if, like, we understand what you're saying about the bluegrass, but if the state doesn't recognize it, we can't do anything more past that. And so you'll get the primary residential discount on your home, right? And that first acre already. And so then the remaining 4 acres or so, if we can get that into urban farming, that'll be probably the best
Okay.
thing for
I think
you.
it's
So,
least headache and least expense.
yeah.
Can I,
For you.
now I'm gonna have to come back to another commission meeting or something?
No, you, most likely it'll just be on a,
On a consent.
on quite a few.
Yeah.
There'll be quite a few of them other than yours for that abatement. And
We
so
would just put it
Okay.
on consent and,
that wouldn't require you to have to come back. So,
Okay,
but if you keep communicating with the assessor's office specifically.
so can I go over
Diane,
there now and fill out
I
the
think our
stuff?
meeting, after this meeting, yeah.
yeah, after the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Unless you wanna keep those.
that'll be great. No, we'll let you have
Good.
them.
You can use those for your application for the urban farming.
Thanks, Robert.
All right, I'll make a motion to deny item number 6.
Okay.
And I will second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Aye.
Motion to adjourn from the BOE.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, we are adjourned. Give us a second while we switch the YouTube over to County Commission.